you have to look for a story in whatever you see. And I thought I somehow had curiosity. I still have curiosity. I pass by things and saw kya ho raha hai, ye kaise ho raha hai. I chat up people on flights. So I thought I had that quality, and that kept me going. And accidentally I became a journalist. In fact, I decided to study journalism. I have to tell you, I have to go away from my text and tell you a little story. I graduated with botany, zoology, chemistry, accidentally with very good mark, with a position in the university. With the same subject in pre-medical 2 years earlier, I had 48%. With the same subjects 2 years later, I was in the top 10 of my university. I didn't think I was any wiser now than I was then, because my interests were not studies. My interests were military history, sports, all kinds of eclectic things. So sometimes fate takes you in funny directions. It just so happened when I got my mark sheet, my name had been misspelled. Somebody, some clerk at Punjab University had inserted an I with my name. So it became S-H-E-I, and I thought it was outrageous. How can I have somebody misspell my name on my degree? So all my life I had to carry that spelling. So I had gone to Punjab University, Chandigarh to get my name corrected. And while I was running from office to office getting that done, I saw a little notice saying Department of Journalism was holding entrance tests. And entrance tests were for free, so I went and sat for the entrance test. By the evening, the results were put out. By next day, I thought I should join. It was very tough for a government servant's son in mid-70s to say I'm studying journalism. My father didn't speak to me for 6 months. Because he thought he had visions of his son becoming a doctor. If that didn't work out, then to grow old enough till he could start appearing for IAS, etc., etc., etc. It was also a bad time to join a journalism school, because 1975, in fact, at that time, the parents of many of you were young. India was under the emergency. Newspapers were censored. There were no jobs in journalism. But sometimes fate takes you in strange directions, and it works out. So this was a situation where my father was upset, my mother was upset. There were no jobs. I came as part of my journalism course for training to the Times of India, where I was given no work along with a colleague of mine, a classmate of mine, for 6 weeks. Because the chief reporter thought that by encouraging us to become journalists, he'll ruin our career. In fact, one day he called me and he said, "You are very persistent, you come every day." I said, "Yes, but I want to get some work." He said, "I will not give you any work." So I said, "Why?" He said, "You studied botany, zoology and chemistry. What are you doing in journalism? Everybody is in jail." So I said, "Well, things will change. This is what I want to do. I don't want to do botany, zoology, chemistry." He said, "No, go back to your university. Your university has a wonderful center for chemical engineering. You join that, come back with a degree." See, this was a license quota Raj, Anil, mid-70s. He said, "When you come back with your chemical engineering degree, I have contacts in Delhi. I will get a license and you and I will set up a factory to make paint." So, I decided not to lose my way and carried on. And then I was told that, "Look, if you are so persistent, if you really want to be a journalist, then don't be here. Go and work in the sports department." So in fact, I spent some time working in the sports department, and that's an investment which I value greatly, because through my life I have written about sports, I have read sports, I have enjoyed sports, and if there's one department of my office, of my newsroom, which gets the maximum trouble from me, it is the sports department, because I think I'm a bigger expert in all of them. I told you some of these stories to tell you that life has strange ways of taking you in different directions. But the skills you acquire in college are never wasted. After having bitched about my education in science, which I said I didn't care very much about, I'll bring you to a story that is very recent. Just the other day at some conference, Rajdeep Sardesai said, in a discussion with an audience, he said, "I don't know how do you keep on featuring these biology Nobel laureates on Walk the Talk. Elizabeth Blackburn, David Baltimore, these are all Nobel laureates in biology. How do you manage it?" I said, "Hang on, boss. This is my only formal education. Kabhi na kabhi to kaam aayegi." So your formal education is very valuable. but you don't know where life will take you. You don't know what skills you will acquire. But remember this, the basic education you learned here will always come handy in whatever you do. So I will share with you some lessons that I learned and maybe some lessons that I have unlearned since that period. And the first lesson is something that may not be the most appropriate thing to state today, especially when many of you are celebrating the fact that it's finally the end of your days as a student. And the first lesson is, for all your lives, stay a student. Stay a student at home, at work, in your life, in your lives with others. In the real world, there is no set curriculum. There are no term papers to submit. There is no one grading you. There are no extra marks for attendance. You are freer. Being a student is much more fun in the real world than in college. So stay a student for the rest of your lives. Learn from life. And what does being a student mean when you have walked out of this campus? It means making learning a lifelong occupation. It means keeping alive the same sense of impatience and inquisitiveness, the fluttering of butterflies in your stomach that you had when you walked into the campus, this campus, the first day. I'm not referring to ragging. Although in real life you will be ragged all the time. It means asking questions. It means not readily accepting the answers that seem to come too easy. It means being aware that there is always a gap between what you know and what you need to know. It means admiring those who are better than you in narrowing that gap. Only when you admire people who are better than you will you be able to narrow the gap between you and between yourself and them.